Hello, welcome to another dose of Banking News and Views Bulletin. I'm Srinivasan. Let's take a look at things that happened in the banking sector during the period 1st June to 7 June. So let me quickly take you all through the headlines which made it during the last week. MPC minutes show that RBI feels it may take years to repair the economy. Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme, Tranche 3. India Post Payment Bank, how it helped in financial transfers. Supreme Court petition on claim of interest during the moratorium period. Ratings downgrade of financial companies and NBFCs. IBC ordinance. Banks to face action for unwarranted delays of loans to MSMEs. Banks' capital requirement set to rise on asset quality pressures, says ICRA. So now let's go individually to each of these news and let's discuss that. So MPC minutes show RBI feels it may take years to repair the economy. Now let's understand what MPC stands for. MPC stands for Monetary Policy Committee. It has 5 members who met earlier than their timetable scheduled in June first week. You may be aware that just last week, the MPC cut the repo rate by 40 basis point to 4% and also cut reverse repo by about 3 to 3.35%. This is almost 3 times during the last about say 4.5 months. Now repo rate, repo rate is the rate at which banks borrow from RBI to ease their temporary liquidity. Now, what I would like to tell you about MPC is the MPC consists of 5 members. And this time, when all the 5 members met, they all agreed that there has got to be a rate cut, but each one out of the 5, 4 were of the opinion that it has to be cut by 40 basis point, but only one member, Chetan Ghatke, professor, Indian Statistical Institute, differed from the other members in quantum. He voted for a 25 basis point cut since he said big cuts need to be saved when the economy starts reviving. In any case, bank credits continue to be tapered, which suggests weak demand. And the supply side is expected to ease gradually as the lockdown related restrictions get phased out. The Reserve Bank, in its MPC report, has also said that the GDP growth rate for 2021 is estimated to be in the negative territory. And the latest official data showed India's GDP growth rate for the year 2019 and 20 had slowed to 11-year low at 4.2%. The MPC voted for a 40 basis point rate cut, which is what I told you earlier. And most of the MPC members believe that the way forward in terms of restoration of economic activity depends on the speed with which the pandemic is contained, how quickly the Indian economy opens up, and how soon supply disruptions are repaired and demand revives. So let's talk about the sovereign gold bond scheme tranche 3. The sovereign gold bond scheme was rolled out by the Reserve Bank of India on 13th April 2020. The scheme involved the RBI issuing sovereign gold bonds on behalf of the government in 6 tranches. Now, each of these tranches has a subscription day and an issuance day. The minimum investment in this sovereign gold bond scheme is 1 gram of gold, with the upper limit of holding being 4 kilos for individuals and 20 kgs for trust and other institutions. The bond, that is the price of gold, was based on simple average of the closing price of gold of 999 purity for the last 3 working days of the week preceding the subscription period. Now, the subscription period for the third tranche is June 8th to June 12th. So, therefore, the price of gold would be a week preceding that, and that would be last 3 working days. And the price would be the closing prices as published by Indian Bullion and Jewelers Association. So let's see how this works out. The nominal value of gold based on simple average closing price published by Indian Bullion and Jewelers Association for gold of the last 3 business days of the week preceding the subscription period. I told you the subscription period was June 8th to June 12th, and therefore the last 3 business days of the week of the preceding week is June 3rd to June 5th. It works out to rupees 4,677 per gram of gold. And for those applying online, the government has decided to offer a discount of rupees 50 per gram of gold. Now, for those of y'all who do not know what sovereign gold bond scheme is, I would encourage y'all to go to my YouTube channel link. I have given you the link here. So please access this link. You will have a better understanding of sovereign gold scheme. India Post Payment Bank. Now, let me give you a brief of what India Post Payment Bank is, and then we will talk about how India Post Payment Bank has helped the government during this COVID-19 lockdown. On 19th August 2015, almost 5 years ago, India Post got a license to run payment banks from Reserve Bank of India. On 17th August 2016, it was registered as a public limited government company for setting up a payments bank. So India Post Payment Bank is a 100% government-owned public sector bank operating within the Department of Post under the Ministry of Communications. Now, this department or this India Post Payment Bank aims to utilize all of India's 1,55,000 post offices as access points and 3 lakh postal postmen and Gramin Dak Sevak to provide house-to-house banking services. The first phase of the bank, with 650 branches and 3,250 post offices as access point, was inaugurated way back on 1st September 2018. Now, till February 27th, 2020, that is almost about 3 months back, the bank has acquired about 2 crore customers all over India. Now, this India Post Payment Bank, with its vast network, helped the government transfer financial benefits of 54 million US dollars through its 2.1 million transactions, mostly in rural and unbanked areas in the first month of lockdown. Access to ATMs and bank mitras were highly curtailed because of the restrictions on mobility and location, and therefore the performance has correspondingly been affected. But if you were to see the period subsequent to it, almost $7.5 billion has been transferred to 420 million people since March 27th under the stimulus package of government on the back of Aadhaar, Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, huge mobile penetration in the country, and seamless interoperable payment system developed in the country over the years. Let's go to the next news. Supreme Court petition. This is a very, very interesting piece of news. And I believe that bankers should pay special interest to this. In a PIL filed by Gajendra Sharma, a resident of Agra, the Supreme Court's three-judge bench took the issue with the claim of bank levying interest on loans when Reserve Bank of India has already announced a moratorium on loan repayments between March and August 31st due to lockdown restrictions following the outbreak of COVID-19. Right? The bench, comprising of Justices Ashok Bhushan, S.K. Kaul, M.R. Shah, said that on one hand, I mean, this was a stricture talking to, this was a talk which was given to uh, the lawyer of Reserve Bank of India or the Council of Reserve Bank of India. It told him that on one hand, you meaning Reserve Bank of India, are granting a moratorium on loans. You are also trying to continue interest. Now, it is much more harmful, it said. The Central Bank of India immediately replied, saying that Reserve Bank of India does not find it wise or reasonable to pursue a compelled waiver of interest. This would threaten the financial stability of the banks and to place the interest of depositors at the risk. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. If the bank does not collect interest from its borrowers for the moratorium period, how is the bank going to pay the depositors? It was a wonderful point made by Reserve Bank of India. Now, the central bank has argued further that it could destabilize the system because almost 2.01 lakh crore is at stake. The money belongs to the depositor, so how will the bank pay depositors their interest? And the industry, the banking sector, has already incurred a loss of 32,438 crores in the fiscal 2018 and aggregate loss of 23,397 crores in fiscal 2019. And the government had to invest almost 3 lakh crores in the past few years to keep the banks afloat. So, what is Supreme Court going to do? That's a big question. And we need to wait till June 10th as to what Supreme Court decides in this PIL petition. Ratings downgrade. Moody's Investor Service has downgraded India's sovereign long-term debt, both foreign and local currency, from Baa3 to Baa2 with a negative outlook. Sorry, that should read as to Baa3 from Baa2. Borrowing cost of the overseas fund may slightly increase in short term. But clubbed with the incremental collateral and creation of additional charge over assets of the borrowers under the current liberalized ECB regime, that is the external commercial borrowing regime of India, probably this rating downgrade may not play a very big role in negating the effect of this downgrade assessment. Moody's Investor Service also cut the ratings of eight non financial companies and three banks, including SBI, HDFC Bank, and Exim Bank. Now, India Incorporated has borrowed almost $45 billion during the financial year 2020 due to lower interest rates abroad and a slew of ECB rationalization measures and the risk aversion in the banking and the debt market. Standard and Poor and Fitch, the other two rating agencies, have already rated India's sovereign debt rating at triple B minus since 2013. This is still an investment grade. The issue will be only if the global rating agencies rate India's debt as sub investment grade. I think till that time, the going should be good. IBC ordinance, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code ordinance. For corporates caught in COVID-19 led crisis, the recent amendment to IBC through an ordinance offers some respite. But exempting COVID related defaults from insolvency under the IBC permanently could spell trouble and lead to unwarranted consequences. While this could give relief to stressed borrowers, it could be misused by willful defaulters and fraudulent promoters. Essentially, the amendments has suspended fresh insolvency proceedings against a debtor for a default occurring on or after 25th March 2020 for a period of 6 months. Yes, of course, this could be extended for up to a year. The suspension on insolvency runs hand in hand with 6 months moratorium, that is 1st March to 31st August, granted by the banks, NBFCs, and other financial institutions to the borrowers. An RBI asset classification standstill on such accounts as well. Now, another biggest drawback with regard to this particular ordinance is that operational creditors and financial creditors other than banks and financial institutions not coming under the RBI moratorium and not covered by the amendment are precluded from filing an insolvency proceeding against a debtor. This amendment also prevents the corporate debtor from filing for an insolvency voluntarily. How is the issue of other financial debtors and operational creditors addressed? What happens to the bondholders where the moratorium does not apply? Or what happens to the operational creditors who could be suppliers to the corporate debtors? Many of the operational creditors are and could be micro, small, medium enterprises. Then what happens? We believe that more thought needed to have gone into drafting of IBC amendments, which was issued through an ordinance. Banks to face action for unwarranted delays to loans to MSMEs. The MSMEs have complained to the finance ministry that the banks are creating needless and unwanted hurdles and are delaying the disbursement of loans. The Union Minister of State for Finance and Corporate Affairs has warned the bankers of dire consequences for unwanted hurdles and delays in disbursement. The center, as a part of fiscal stimulus and coronavirus package, has allocated 3 lakh crore loans for disbursals for MSMEs. And I do not think a bank should have any problem lending money to the MSMEs. Banks' capital requirement set to rise on asset quality pressures, shows an ICRA report. According to ICRA, the credit rating agency, the GNPA, that is the gross non-performing assets of the banks, are expected to increase from 8.6% at the end of March 2020 to around 11.3 to 11.6%. This would mean additional capital infusions of around 45,000 to 82,500 crores for the PSBs, that is the public sector banks. Even under a scenario where there is a low credit growth of around 3 to 4% for the fiscal 21. Private sector banks who maintain a higher capital ratio of 1.5% to 2.5% over and above the mandated 9.5% for tier 1 requirement would need to raise around 25,000 to 48,300 crores. That's a very, very big amount. Now, for FY21, the public sector banks' credit provisions will continue to exceed the operating profit, translating into sixth consecutive years of loss. The profitability of the private sector banks is likely to zoom down, with return on equity declining to just 3.5 to 5.1% from the earlier estimated earnings of 10 to 12%. ICRA estimates that even 10 to 20% of the borrowers were to default, the slippage rate for the banks would be huge, huge, and huge. It estimates that the slippage could be around 3 to 8%. ICRA noted that some of the larger private sector banks have issued sizable quantum of bonds, which are due in the year FY22 and FY23. With the investors' appetite for the bonds having weakened, this would mean that the banks will not be in a position to raise further funds through bond issue. They will need to raise through additional equity capital to replace these bonds. ICRA has projected an incremental credit growth for banks for FY21 to be 6 lakhs to 7 lakh crores, which translates to an year-on-year growth of 6 to 7%. The few factors which could drive the credit growth further is sovereign guarantees on loans extended to MSMEs, capitalization of interest on loans under moratorium, expected slowdown in the commercial borrowings. So you could see that the next 1.5 year is going to be a very crucial time, not only to the banking sector, but for the entire economy. How soon the lockdown is lifted, how quickly the business gets into its act of generating business, reviving business, would be the most important thing. With this, I close my news for the week. See you all next week with another installment of our News and Views Banking Bulletin. Till then, take care, be safe, and stay safe, be positive. Bye bye. See you next week.